Some people really like to work on the fly and just not be prepared at all for sessions, you know, like producers I know, like Kenny Beats, and a lot of producers just really like to, as they say, cook up on the spot because, you know, they say you never know what energy you're going to feel until that artist walks in the room or what they're going to be looking for, which is definitely has some logic to it. And I think some people really like to fly free, so to speak. I need to prepare, like I'm not making drums and things like that are very unique, and the things that I labor over, and the tuning of a snare drum, and that's not something I really want to be doing while there's an artist there like sitting, like waiting to write a song, and I'm messing around with the snare and getting this perfect sound. So I really do like to do those things. And occasionally I'll work with someone who'll come in and I'll play them a bunch of things and they're not feeling any of them. So then we will start to make something from scratch right there. And sometimes that's terrifying, like where someone's sitting right there on that couch and I'm scrambling to get a loop going or firing up all these machines and stuff. But it's also good to push yourself and have that, um, almost that adrenaline of like when someone's in the room and you're just trying to like cook something up instantly that's gonna get them excited. But for me, I would rather have some of this stuff prepared. You know, you want to have spontaneity in the studio. You want to be able to work. I mean, of course, we're gonna come up with chords and a lot of the music on the spot. But as far as the bed and the things that I can just have a little bit ready before the artist or the songwriters show up, that's great. And even if you're working by yourself and there's not another artist or songwriter coming in, just this thing of having these little folders of loops or things that you know might inspire you is like a great thing to have when you come in to the studio to just start working. There have definitely been times where I've been very relieved to be over-prepared, you know. There's times when you've got 4 or 5 little beats on the fly, you know, just maybe some drums and some music on it, and someone comes in and you're like, okay, they're definitely gonna like this first one. And they're like, meh. And then, you know, you get to the 3rd or 4th one, and maybe that's the one that they connect with. I've definitely had times when I've made 5 or 6 things that I thought somebody was really gonna love, and they come in and they're just not feeling it. There's an alchemy that happens in the room sometimes when an artist that you're working with is part of the creation process, which is a bit different. So if someone just comes in and hears something that you've kind of made or you've cooked up 60, 70% of the way, they might not feel a kind of link or an involvement in it. But if they're there as you're starting to play the music, different artists feel music in different ways. So they seem to, I've definitely worked with people that want to be part of that process because they feel something for that music. They've seen the kind of genesis of it in a way. They've seen it birth. So, you know, you'll find artists that'll want to do it both ways. There'll be people that you'll just have a track and you email it to someone, or they might come in and just hear it and they might love that. And then there's other people that if you're creating it together as you're going, there's a more, there's a deeper synergy and a connection to the music. And that definitely goes for anybody you're working with, whether they're like a giant marquee name rapper or just a talented songwriter who's coming in for a session, whatever it is, even when you're working on your own stuff. In this case, I just got a sample pack of drums by this producer drummer that I love named J Zone. So I'm gonna like get into it, listen through, find some that catch my ear that I think might be cool for the session today and chop them up. So let's do it. So once I've kind of got the audio I like, you know, you can drag it into whichever software you like that you can work in quick. You know, it's something that it's great to work out of a software where you can change the tempo, change the pitch, maybe mess around with the sonics and do something interesting. So whatever you like to use to do that. Right now, I'm just gonna listen through some of these loops and just see if anything catches my ear. I haven't heard them yet. And if there's some that I like, I'll kind of chop them into passages. So let's hear this thing. So I'm using Pro Tools because that's what I'm used to, that's what I learned on. But as I say, whatever works for you, Ableton, Logic, Pro Tools, GarageBand, whatever it is you're comfortable with. I like that because it's got sort of a meters feel. It's not a traditional kind of kick snare beat. It's the kind of thing that it's a little bit left field, but you could chop it up, and if you get a cool song over that, it definitely be interesting. That's the thing I love about, you know, some of my favorite producers like Timbaland and Missy Elliott, you know, those kind of offbeat things. And then it even has a bit of a 70s meters feel to it, New Orleans. So I'm gonna take that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chop it into passages of 1 or 2 bars. That way, because, you know, the way that it starts is sort of all over the place, right? But if I chop it into specifically 1 bar from the top of the beat to the next beat, now I have it in a clean loop. So once I drag it into the session or whatever we're working on, it's there. So I'm going to take a few bars because there's the opening that's just the claps. Then we heard there's a bass drum that comes in later. So let's just find a few sections we like. We don't have to take the whole thing. You know, all we want is just like maybe just a little bit with just the claps, then a little bit with the kick drum. And then maybe one of these. Yeah, so just that. All I need is from there to there. Okay, so that's a nice one. I mean, it's quite hard to say what I'm looking for specifically, and it might be different on any given day, but I just looking for that drum beat or something that's going to inspire some chords, that's going to trigger off an idea. That could be cool, so let's take that too. So that's 1 bar, and then maybe I'll take the bar with the snare fill in it in case I want to use that for later. And obviously the fill goes over the bar, but I only really want it up to so it can come back round to the kick drum, so I think this is it. Okay, so we like that one. And also when I play with these loops later, you know, I'm already listening, okay, what would that sound like much slower or something like that? You know, obviously this is kind of fast and it almost sounds like an old school 90s breakbeat or Public Enemy or something. But, you know, if you slow that down 10, 15 beats per minute, you could get something really cool and ethereal. So, you know, while you're listening to it, it's always great to keep in mind what you might want to do with it later. That's kind of cool. Another really important thing to keep in mind when you're in your bedroom making these beats, when you're on your laptop, is just not just about what you're feeling, but also, you know, the artists who might be coming in, what tempos they like, what feel, what kind of sounds. So then when they come in, you know, you have something that's in their wheelhouse as well. That's kind of cool. That's got a nice groove to it. I'm going to take that too. You could go through these all day, and all of them have their charm, and who knows which one of these will lend itself to like a good idea, but you know, 4 is a good place to kind of have it. And the thing that I really like about this guy Jay Zone's breakbeats is they sound like old samples. You know, you can tell the way he records them, and they sound like breakbeats, but they're all royalty free, so you don't have to clear anything. You can just use it. And some of the break records, they say that they're royalty free, but you definitely get sued if you use the funky drummer. And just because it says it on the album, this is free, it's not. So I like these kind of things. You don't have to worry about while you're making it, like, oh God, how are we going to clear this sample later or whatever else it is. So